Hello, my name is Cynthia Day, and welcome to Nature Links News. Our story today has to do with the change of landmarks over time, specifically the area of the Science Museum in Vizcaya. Let's go to Katrina to see who she is talking to.
Thank you, Cindy. Here I am with Wendy Wolf and Gary. She works at Vizcaya Museum. Wendy, thank you for coming. What is your job at Vizcaya?
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here. At Vizcaya, I'm the Deputy Director for Learning and Visitor Experience, so I manage all of our community engagement programs and our connections with visitors when they visit the museum.
What is the history of Vizcaya?
Vizcaya was originally the private home of James Deering. He spent winter seasons at Vizcaya from 1916 until 1925, so almost 100 years ago, and it was his private home. He spent seasons there with friends and family who would come to visit him, and when he died in 1925, his home passed on to his two nieces, his brother's children, and they kept Vizcaya in the family through the 1930s, the 1940s, and then in the early 1950s, the family made the decision that they wanted the public to enjoy the property, and so they made a gift to Miami-Dade County, and Vizcaya opened as a public museum in March 1953.
What is happening in Vizcaya?
Vizcaya is very busy. In the last 9 or 10 years, our visitation has doubled. So we have doubled the number of visitors that are coming to the museum. And we have the Vizcaya Village, which is just next door to this Science Museum property that has not been open to the public. And we're thinking about how we can restore those historic buildings and open those to the public and for community engagement. There are about 10 or 11 buildings, and they need to be restored. And we're thinking about how we can evoke the history of the farm village. We might not be able to replicate it, but we want to think about what happened in the village. We know there was an orchard. We know there were gardens that grew a lot of produce. We know that there were some domestic farm animals that provided eggs and milk for Mr. Deering's estate. So we're thinking about how those activities might make sense in 21st century Miami in a museum that's located in the urban core of a very big and dynamic city.
Why not sell the land and allow an apartment building or a shopping center to be built there?
Good question. So when Mr. Deering died and Vizcaya passed to his nieces, and when Vizcaya was given to Miami-Dade County by the family, they were very clear that Vizcaya should be used for the purposes of a public museum and to engage our Miami-Dade community. So the family was very specific in how they hoped the home and the gardens and the land of Vizcaya would be used. So we have no intention to sell the property. It will be open as a public museum and to engage our community and visitors to the area.
Shouldn't the area be controlled by the county parks system?
Well, originally, Vizcaya Museum and Gardens was part of the Parks and Recreation Department. And in the late 1990s, I guess about 20 or 30 years ago, Vizcaya separated from the Parks and Recreation Department in the county so that we could pursue accreditation by the American Alliance of Museums and be recognized by that national professional organization as a museum. And since then, we have been accredited by the American Alliance of Museums.
Who would be involved in doing the farming? Could we help?
Katrina, we'd love to have you involved. We're thinking a lot about the urban agriculture program that we might have in the village, and we'll be looking for community partners to help us develop that and to think about how we can have urban agriculture, urban gardens located in the village of Vizcaya.
Could a lot of the space west of Vizcaya become a park?
So because we're thinking about urban agriculture, we're thinking a lot about green space. This area of the original Vizcaya estate was an orchard as well as produce gardens and flower gardens. So we want to make sure that we preserve as much green space as we can. We know that there are some public parks in the area, so it might look different than a public park. I can't say it would be open 24 hours, available 24 hours a day like other public parks, but having green space and natural environment is a very important component as we're thinking about restoring the village.
How important is parking be the success of getting more people to rate Vizcaya?
We think a lot about parking and our visitors. As I mentioned, in the last 9 or 10 years, the number of visitors coming to the museum has doubled, but we're really very fortunate to have this location so close to the Metro Rail, and there are also several bus routes on South Miami Avenue, and we're also hoping to make sure that our estate and village is accessible safely for pedestrians and bicyclists. So while we know we need to provide parking for visitors, we're also hopeful that we might encourage our community to arrive and visit Vizcaya by transit, by bicycle, or maybe if they live nearby, they might walk over.
What is the preservation challenge?
Well, we have a lot of preservation challenges, mostly because Vizcaya is 100 years old, and also because of our climate. Close to Biscayne Bay, we have a lot of salt water and humid tropical air, so we have a lot of challenges to preserving the building, and we also think a lot about preserving the environment, the mangrove shore and the rockland hammock. We think about how we can maintain those ecosystems to be healthy for 100 more years. So challenges are building awareness about how we can all take care of the environment, and then thinking about preservation of our collection and our building, just making priorities, making a list of what we need to do, thinking about how to tackle it, and then working with our community and others to raise the necessary funds to make sure that we can preserve Vizcaya for 100 more years.
What could Nature Link students do in creating news segments to get more people involved in changing Vizcaya?
Well, let's see. In September, we had some public meetings to think about the future of Vizcaya and to talk with us about their ideas of how we might create urban agriculture programs or other programs that support the arts and history and the environment. All of those are part of Vizcaya's mission. So it might be interesting to have segments that think about Vizcaya's past and present while we consider its future and ask questions about its future. Our mission as a public museum is to serve our community and learning through the arts, history, and the environment. So I think any of those subjects or areas would be interesting discussions to build awareness about Vizcaya.
Thank you, Wendy. Let's go back to Cindy, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Katrina. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for watching us. I am Cindy, and this is Nature Links News.